Oh man, what's going on, dude?
Hey everyone, it's Tom Seymour from VHS Massacre.
And it's Tim Kulig from Tim Kulig Free Music, and it's the first podcast we're doing in 2026.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Well, Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year. Yeah, so lots going on. We got some music stuff, we got some film stuff.
Why don't we do film updates first?
Okay, yeah. And for those who this is the first time watching, Tim, the Prince of royalty-free music, he's recorded over 1,000 songs, human-made songs that anyone could use in their films or podcasts for free, as long as they give him credit, and you have to give him credit. And we'll go into that
Sure.
later.
Human-made, I like that. Human-made,
yeah. And I'm an independent filmmaker. Currently, I believe it's my 12th feature film, called Video Dreams, about trying to get a film on the shelf at Blockbuster and beyond, and what that entails. So we talk about I say that in the last year, predominantly when we're talking about VHS Massacre stuff, we're typically talking about our adventures in the film festival circuit.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to update you on some of that stuff. So one of the coolest things that Tim and I got to do is we just did a Q&A at the San Francisco Independent Film Festival, which is a very esteemed film festival. It actually it's got its main festival, which we're playing at February 7th at the Roxy Theater. And then they're also doing a virtual festival with a Q&A. And you could watch it too, but it's geolocked to the Bay Area, I believe, which is pretty cool. Which it's really cool. Like a lot of film festivals are doing that now. They can geolock something to a region so that you're not jeopardizing your premieres in other states and countries and stuff like that.
Very awesome. Very awesome. But that's the top level festival, but there's some sub festivals that we've already gotten into that's associated with that, right? Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, in my opinion, San Francisco Independent Film Festival is one of the top underground film festivals. The Academy Award one, the Studio Film Festival, is the San Francisco International. But if you're an auteur, if you're an artist, you're typically going to be you're going to be wanting to get into the San Francisco Independent Film Festival.
Right.
A lot of people compare it to Sundance versus Slamdance. Sundance being primarily studio films,
mm-hmm.
and then Slamdance, although it's so big now, but they will play actual underground or independent. I'm reluctant to just use the word independent these days because people misuse it all the time.
It's independent film and it's $20 million budget. It's like, really? Yeah.
It's supposed to be outside of the studio system. So if Harvey Keitel's in your film, I'm sorry, why would you even claim that? Just be happy you're a studio filmmaker.
Right.
So I think there's that. So the cool thing about San Francisco Independent Film Festival is that it has, I believe it's 6 festivals total. The sort of headlining film festival is San Francisco Independent Film Festival, but then it has other ones, like I think one's called the Green Film Festival, then there's San Francisco Documentary Festival, and then there's another Hole in the Head. And that's something that we actually won Best Documentary Film in 2024, I think.
Yeah, that was for American Expendables, right?
For American Expendables, which it's 100% Tim's music in that. And we won, it was Best Documentary. We actually got a Gold Telly Award for that, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it was awesome.
But the reason why I think San Francisco, you could call it like a top tier, is because of those, because it's a powerhouse. It's like 6 other festivals,
Right.
So I think you could. Another Hole in the Head, just their genre festival has been called a top film festival, genre film festival in the world by Movie Maker magazine, which a lot of people quote. So if you think of it in terms of just their genre fest is a top 50 genre, then you would think as a whole, it's got to be, fairly top,
Yeah.
So in their lane, you wouldn't say, and that's the thing about this stuff. It's like there are festivals that just are not independent at all, and it's weird to think of like that. But like New York Film Festival, it's just not. There's no independent films in there. This isn't like a judgment call. It's purely
Mainstream studio stuff.
Yeah. And even Sundance almost these days almost never allows anything truly outsider unless it's brought in by a major studio or agency. Because that happens too. Like a major studio could acquire some film made in, England or India or something and then bring it in and then be like,
or how about in the case where like maybe an A-lister does a pet project or something and they want it to show at that? Do you think that's something like if Brad Pitt did a pet project and wanted to show it at Sundance?
I think Brad Pitt like disqualifies it from being independent because he's an entrenched, Hollywood icon,
Right.
I mean,
like by that definition, right? Like
just be, that's what I'm saying. Just be happy you made a Brad Pitt movie. You don't have to stick independent on it. Just don't bother. It's not anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
But there's all these judgment calls. I mean, there was a film made by the children of one of the biggest film directors in Hollywood, and they're like, "This is our independent film." I'm like, "Really?
Yeah.
It's like just you directing it. Doesn't that disqualify it right there?" But it's all, I suppose.
Well, you start getting like these weird questions of nepotism and stuff, and it's like, are you delusional? Like.
Yeah, and some people really are, and there's nothing like, look, there's plenty of like, nepotism is a tough thing because what are you supposed to do? Like you're not taking advantage of that stuff. Like you.
I mean, in my case, if I was in those shoes, sure, piggyback off the legacy of your father or some aunt or uncle, and you got the same last name. Great.
That's the trade-off is that you will get these tremendous one-ups and advantages. You'll be born on third base. And so that's the advantage. But, the disadvantage is everyone's going to look at you sideways until you do something brilliant.
Right.
But if you do something brilliant, then they won't say that anymore. I mean, it's like you think of Jeff Bridges, his dad Lloyd Bridges, So it can be done.
Or Coppola's daughter doing Lost in Translation. I mean, that was a great movie.
Brilliant. Yeah, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
She proved herself so well. It's just a non-issue, Even Nicolas Cage changed his last name when he was young, so he wouldn't be Nicholas Coppola, and respect for that,
Absolutely.
Change your last name, so...
Yeah. I don't want to ride on that. Like, people are going to know who I am, that know who I am, but honestly... I mean, the proof was in what he did. I mean, Raising Arizona. I mean, that's where I saw him first.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Brilliant. And then
Wild at Heart, crazy stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Face Off. The people still do. There's still memes of Face Off.
He's still cranking out these crazy movies. I saw one. Oh God, it was the Ghosts of, I don't know. It's something the Spirits of Ghost Island or something like that.
Yeah.
He's still doing like really wild stuff. Anyway,
yeah, for sure. He does some fringe stuff, which like a mainstream person could just put all that aside and just be like, I'm only doing like big time studio films, and they still explore that stuff. I applaud people for doing that.
Yeah, for sure. So it's complicated stuff. So I can go through a few festivals.
Yeah, let's do it.
So this month, January, we have a number of festivals that we're waiting to hear back from. We entered 114 film festivals. Tim and I teamed up with this film, Video Dreams, which is basically autobiographical about our filmmaking journey to get, into Blockbuster. And so we're both in it, and Tim
both narrate. Yeah.
Both narrate, and Tim's music is the primary source of music, with some other selections here and there. So it's kind of, it was a lot of editing, I will say. The thing was built in the editing room, and that was not fun, but there were moments that were pretty cool. Anyway, long story short, too late. All right, so this month we were waiting to hear back from Barcelona Indie Awards.
Mm-hmm.
Did not get into that one.
Okay.
Coming up, technically tomorrow, New York Independent Art Film Festival.
Ooh,
we're going to find out. That would be cool. This is another one where it's very interesting. Like, I've seen this more, like film festivals branded as art film festivals,
mm-hmm.
which is cool, right? Art film. I think it's like, partially art, maybe fine art, and then also film festival. We won actually an honorable mention award at one in Athens. It was a Athens art festival.
A better moniker than independent because of what you said earlier.
Yeah. It's very cool, like how people sort of create niches for their festival. It's not, if it was underground, it would denote more, maybe possibly grittier, possibly controversial,
or exploitative, like that kind of thing.
Genre, or like hard hitting, or just experimental. Could be highly experimental.
Yeah.
Art festival, it's got to have some of that. You imagine it'd be highly experimental, and then probably a lot of doc, you'd think. So we'll see. It's associated with New York Art Magazine, which is interesting. So yeah, we'll see. Let's see. New York Monthly Film Festival. CineQuest is a huge one. Academy Award qualifying film festival in San Jose, hosted at the historic California Theater. That's a super long shot because, again, that's one that's right in the middle. It's Academy Award qualifying, but they still take, I think they were bragging that they still took 80 or 90% of their films from submissions.
Okay.
So they're not just approaching filmmakers directly. There may be some of that, but
Yeah.
And then
you never know, right? You never know on the back end what they do.
Each black box, man. Yeah, you really don't know. London Frames International, unknown if we'll get into that. Screens at Finsbury Park Picture House. You got to be kind of a nerd with this stuff, but I compiled this list, and my objective was to see what theaters it could potentially play at. So this, so I looked up some of this stuff, so it was pretty cool. The good news is we did get into this thing called Gothamite Film Awards. They finally came through with their official selections. That's to be announced. That looks to be more of an awards show type thing, but we'll find out about that. This is a really cool one. We got a Best Documentary Feature nomination for the 2026 Late Night TV Movie Awards.
Where's that based out of again?
That is based out of Godfrey, Illinois.
Okay, just outside of Chicago or something like it. Is that?
I think it's good question. Godfrey, Illinois. I'll have to look that up. Always Late TV Movie Awards. Is that what I said? Yeah. Always Late TV Movie Awards. Godfrey, Illinois. I don't know. I'd have to see how far away from.
Sounds familiar. I think when I was driving up through there this summer, I swear I saw that name. So I had to go through Chicago to get up to Green Bay.
Okay. It does. Okay. Probably just it was on the way because it looks like it's a few hours off. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
4 or 5 hours. Damn. Okay. But that's cool because I think it's hosted by a college, which is pretty cool. And Lewis and Clark Community College. Yeah, that's cool. Hey, go. I like community colleges, so go community colleges.
Yeah, absolutely.
At the Hathaway Culture Center. The thing that's interesting about this one is it's a full award show, highly produced award show. Very impressive. And they actually posted last year's show on YouTube. It's as polished as anything you'd see like an Indie Spirit Awards or stuff like that. I thought it's very interesting. Worth entering,
Yeah, that'll be exciting to see how that pans out.
Yeah, and then let's see.
There's a few more before the end of the month.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so playing at San Francisco Independent Film Festival February 7th at the Roxy Theater. There's this thing called the North Film Festival in Barcelona, Spain, which is excellent. That's a significant event and takes place February 18th. And then Always Late, and then the Gothamite. So actually, our February, we have a number of festivals, and then even into March, we're starting to fill in March.
Well, with those four, that puts us beyond VHS2 as far as official selections are concerned, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
38 total official selections for Video Dreams. I think it was 34.
Okay.
VHS Massacre 2, which had 23 wins. Currently, we're at 19 wins for Video Dreams. Though, fingers crossed, we should break that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
especially with some of these noms. So, I'm going to be very crampy the next month.
Yeah. So anyway, this is the kind of stuff Tim and I discuss when we're looking at film festivals. Do they play films like yours?
Mm-hmm.
When you read the description, does it seem like they're, does it match? Like, because, Video Dreams, although I think has actually dramatic areas, and I do think it's very meaningful, especially we've both been doing independent films for a long time now. It's not like a social justice documentary.
Right.
So you do have to look at that. If a festival is trying to, if the wording seems to be primed towards things that are like more justice issues,
Mm-hmm.
your film's probably going to fall flat. Someone's going to watch this and be like, yeah, we don't do this type of,
Yeah, there's a conflict in the Middle East or something, and like that's what we want for a documentary, or there's a subset of the culture that's repressed, and we want to focus on that, and whatever the case may be. Again, like you said, social justice, more of an emphasis on that, so they're going to pass over anything that doesn't have a flavor of that, really. Some of these festivals,
and for sure, we've made some tremendous progress at some of these festivals. But the festival has to have a little bit of a sense of humor. They have to want to play quirk your docs.
Mm-hmm.
Like we actually got to meet Chris Metzler, who runs San Francisco Indie Fest, and he made this film 2004 called Plagues and Pleasures on the Salton Sea. It examines the decline of the Salton Sea community. There is a seriousness to it, but also it's all filled with all these characters. So it's humorous. Some of the characters are funny. They make jokes. It's just super entertaining. There are docs like that, like King of Kong or American Movie. American Movie, if you haven't seen that doc, it's probably one of the most famous contemporary documentaries, and to some degree it's a bit of a tragedy.
I mean, Winnebago Man was a good example, and it comes out of the gate super funny because of the tape that was passed around in the 80s. Unfortunately, spoiler alert, I've been out for a long time, so I'm not going to hold back. Spoiler alert, he does pass away from a disease, and it's tragic, but I mean, the guy was really interesting, and the documentary itself was really interesting. And these guys, I mean, you want to talk about niche? These guys picked like a very unique, very isolated subject and turned it into a full-length, feature-length documentary. They did a really good job.
Well, and that's the thing. This is like the paradox of filmmaking, where like you're nailing it, like, because who knows what their expectations were on this, but they were the people who made that film were super interested in it, and they didn't care. They're gonna make Winnebago Man because they're fascinated.
And it came across. It absolutely came across. The authenticity was there.
And it definitely is a big success for sure. In my circles, like New York independent film scene, everyone was talking about Winnebago Man,
Mm-hmm.
So, and like for us, for Video Dreams, it's made progress, but it's like when I started making this, it was very personal, and I was highly reflective, and I'm like kind of pouring my heart out about how, messed up parts of my film career were, and when we started entering, I was like, I think I said something to like, we're gonna have to go pretty hard with this thing because I don't know if anyone's going to get it. So I think that was a combination of like, I'm proud of this. I want to go hard with the film festival circuit, but we may need to enter a lot more because I have no idea who's going to resonate.
Yeah. Where's it gonna find an audience? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, we've gone harder on other docs that we've done, but I think in the beginning, and you really kind of honed that part of the craft, Tom. Honestly, it's really kudos to you because, and it came a lot from trial and error and kind of being frustrated with the lack of feedback or the festivals that we've entered 2 or 3 times we get no communication with or whatever. And then we kind of have made that determination at that point, like, okay, our niche of what we do doesn't resonate with that group and that audience. And that's fine. Well, I think as you mature your way, you have to be mature about it. You have to mature your way through it and understand that not everything works. Not every scenario is going to work. So focus on where it resonates. And classic example was based on what you just said, the point you just made, that we have to go hard and try a bunch of different places. The UK. I mean, there was 5, right? There were 5 places that officially selected that and played our film. It played in 5 different locations in the United Kingdom.
Yeah. And Cinexcess was for genre is basically there's, I think, Fear Fest and then Cinexcess.
Mm-hmm.
Fear Fest would be more straight up horror. Cinexcess is tied to academia and more exploitation.
Okay.
So it's like you choose what you want to crown as the top genre festival, but we got into Cinexcess, and that one's got, I think, the academic angle makes me a little more proud of it, you know?
Well, yeah, because it's parallel with your career, and it just it's awesome.
So Cinexcess, Spirit of Independence was a British Independent Film Award qualifying festival, which is pretty cool. And we played on the closing night there, and
That's
like
exciting.
we didn't make a British film, so we're not gonna get a BIFA award.
Yeah.
So playing at closing night at one of those festivals is probably the closest we're gonna get, which is so pretty happy with that.
Yeah, you got to take the wins that you get, right?
Yeah.
I celebrate the wins that you get. Like, you can have this super high aspiration to get into, whatever, like some of the like slam dance or whatever, and fine, shoot your shot. But honestly, it still comes back to understanding what audience this thing is for by the trial and error, and knowing like, okay, yeah, we're not going to go here because we know that's super niche. It's that the niche doesn't fit it. Why waste our time? Why waste our money? Why get disappointed when we know we can invest in a different area and hopefully get an audience to see it and get an official selection? Then an audience will actually watch it,
I did notice at a certain point, and here's the thing. I think I did a batch of festivals initially and then kept adding and adding. When I was analyzing what we were getting into, it looked to be heavy on underground festivals. So then I doubled down on that. And again, it's an odds game, hit or miss. Like, we didn't get into Tampa Bay Underground.
Yeah.
Well, we got,
which would have been really cool because I'm right here.
Because I know, I would have flown down. But we got into Melbourne Underground. We won a special jury prize, best documentary. And like, lo and behold, that's like a top underground festival in the world on like, the only thing parallel in the US would be probably Chicago Underground. Chicago Underground. But so it's like this does happen. Like, it's tough. You're aiming for a target. Sometimes you don't get that target, but sometimes you realize like something a lot cooler happens. You get appreciated in an area that you just didn't initially think of.
Yeah, I mean, being open and flexible to what expectations you're putting in front of yourself for things, specifically in this case, like sharing your art with the world and wondering where it's going to hit, like not having any preconceptions, just getting it out there and taking a chance on some of these festivals. Some of them we never had entered into this whole time. Like,
Yep.
It was only with this, because we went so hard and we hit so many festivals with it. I mean, in essence, so the audience understands it, this is our theater run. The festival circuit is in essence our theater run, and we need to get a qualification to get in there. That's basically it. And it's the best way for us to put this in front of butts and seats, basically. I mean, what it would cost us to actually do a theater run, across the country is just unobtainable. You know what I mean? Even in like the art house space, you still have to pay to play. So, and then why would anybody come to something if there's not this giant like ramp up or whatever of advertising and everything? Like, it's just not in our budgets. So this is the best way to get it in front of people.
Yeah. I think and I think our goal was 40 cities, I think we said. And
we're almost there.
Yeah, we're almost there. Maybe we'll hit 50 cities, that would be cool. Yeah, so it's been a pretty cool adventure, and I think we're going to keep doing it. If I can, if I finish another documentary, I think we'll do the same thing. It's definitely worth it for us. And the end game, in theory, would be streaming and physical media.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea is that if you can make your film like famous, that when you hit streaming, it'll get it'll have a significant impact and then actually make a little money. And we're not talking about a ton of money, just to be honest here. Like, if we made $5,000, that would be incredible. And that would actually pay for that would zero out the film festival run, and we'd probably make a little bit on physical media. So, it can be done. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, there is this thing where I still entered some of these top festivals, and when I wouldn't get into, like, if I didn't get into Austin Film Festival, I would double down and enter like 2 more top ones, just out of spite,
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah, you never know what's going to hit. So I think we have 30 more film festivals to hear back from, and then
the bulk of which is through like April, May, right? Somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And then there's a couple of this trailers, I think, in the summertime, a few stragglers, and then that's pretty much it.
It's pretty much it. Yeah, I did one August one, Chicago Underground is the last sort of major thing.
Yeah.
We'll hear back from July 29th.
Okay.
And that'll there was this thing called New York City International Reel Festival that plays out of Anthology Film Archives. We're already in New Filmmakers, New York. So that's like an additional one. If we get to it, cool. But yeah, the last major festival would be Chicago Underground. Maybe we'll get in. That would be like a trifecta almost of underground festivals,
Yeah. Yeah. Between Melbourne,
London, maybe CineXS and Chicago Underground, or if you want to call it San Francisco,
Yeah. 3 continents.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be great.
Yep. Yeah. There is this thing called Raw New York. So New York discontinued its underground film festival years ago. So there actually is no New York Underground Film Festival, which was one of the longer running ones, but I don't know what happened. But so I think it was Todd Phillips took over running it, and then it was shut down. So it's an odd thing. No idea why. But there is this thing called Raw NYC Indie Fest that plays down in Brooklyn. We hear back from them June 3rd. And by de facto, they're probably the top underground because there's not a lot of competition in that space.
Right.
And if you read the description, it's very like down and dirty, so.
Yeah. Well, again, more crampiness. Let's go.
Yeah.
Give me an excuse to go to New York.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So that's my recap. Hopefully that there was some information that's of interest. Yeah. But anyone can do what we're doing. Just, you've got to try to make a good product. I recommend feature films. Yes, it's 10 times harder than a short, but unfortunately today, the value of a feature, I think, is slightly higher than the value of a short. It could be sold. It can be, screened as a feature in a theater. So you could put it out as a DVD.
One thing I would encourage people to, if you do take this path, is to always bear in mind that we're focused on one thing right now, but we're not. We're always thinking about the next thing at the same time, especially when we get to the point where we're in a festival run. That's the time we start to ideate on the next thing that we want to get involved with, and the next rabbit hole we want to go down to see if there's a story there. And that's the way you don't get these huge gaps. It's the only way you can produce this level of content, this level of movies and feature-length films, is that you have to constantly push yourself to explore new ideas, the next big idea. And I think what people do, they in some cases, some auteurs, they'll do a movie and they'll just focus all this energy on it, and they'll go and it'll either do well or do somewhere in between or not do so great, but there's nothing behind it, right? There's nothing behind it, which is fine if you only ever wanted to just do one thing. But if it's a passion of yours and you want to keep going, then you need to keep exploring. You need to keep exploring other ideas, other things to talk about, and that we do that constantly. It's a cycle for us. We go through the process of ideating on something, playing around with it, doing podcasts about it, having snippets here and there, gathering up information, starting to put raw footage together, and I'm not the one in the editing room. And but at some point it gets to about 20, 30 minutes, and then suddenly we have something that we're like, okay, what are we talking about? Like, what's the story?
Right. You just sort of it's a lot of spaghetti. You're talking about throwing a ton of spaghetti at the wall and just boiling that stuff down. And then to your point, what you're saying before, it's like a really good way to put it, like about how you have a project, and there are times the project's going to move along, but then there's going to be something where it slows down. Like maybe you have a release date, but the release date's next year. So the other project, hopefully you have a next project that wants to kind of slowly come up behind it, subtly. But you have to have that demeanor as an artist. You have to have that, you have to want to work that way. So
it's the same reason in the royalty-free music space that I don't only write music in one genre, because I could just get burnt out on horror or meditation or whatever, and I still have the creative juice flowing. I just don't want to do that. So you kind of have to pivot and throw your creativity somewhere else. Something like comedy, short form comedy or something for memes and online content. Like, I'm like, okay, great. Let's do something that's funny and whimsical, and then I get into that for a while. And then suddenly that somehow motivates me to do a different genre. And then I come back to horror, and I come back to orchestral and everything, which is why if you look at my album catalogs over the years, you'll see like at the beginning of the year, I release something, and towards the end of the year, it's like, oh, you did that genre again. Well, I had to have this journey in between it in order to like have experiences to come up with new ideas later on, Well,
also you hit 1,000 songs, recording 1,000 original songs, and then you're like, I need a break. Your break was to go like head on into podcasting. And so now you've been going like, 100 miles per hour at podcasting, So it's cool. Like
that, and taking on a social media manager, Like it's second I was done, focus on that. So now I've got this body of work that I need to disseminate and make sure people know who I am. I'm not just throwing it into a void called the internet. And now my socials are getting more busy. I have more content coming out on a regular basis. Daily, there's several things coming out on a daily basis. And even with the podcast, like to your point, I have it so that the micro clips that come out of what we do here are going to sandwich the actual episode when it comes out. And then for weeks, I'm going to reference back with clips that reference this episode, let's say, and just create those backlinks and all that necessity that happens in the background that most people don't even know is happening. And because listen, people think they could just open up a YouTube channel and they're going to get 1 million followers, in a month, because they're doing content that's the flavor of the week, right? And they don't realize they're seeing the iceberg for these people that are super successful. What went into it, all the detail, all the micro content, all the backlinks, the involvement in Reddit, on several different social media platforms, the targeted advertising, like within platform, like all those things are making that channel and that person pop. But you don't know that. You just see the end result, which is you want to see more of that content because it's in your face more often. Well, it's only in your face because they know how to market. Like, that's the biggest key. It's just like anything else. Like, I mean, why is your go-to soda Coca-Cola? Like, and you'd think Coke and Pepsi wouldn't have to advertise anymore, but that's not the case. The reason it's in your face and the reason it's in like the zeitgeist and it's in your first thought is because they advertise millions and millions of dollars a year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you at some point you realize that it is just money. Like I mean, you have to have a certain level of talent on a certain a certain level. But like, if you take, for instance, like a lot of the television, a lot of the late night shows, like those guys are genuinely talented. Conan and Kimmel and like old school Letterman and Ferguson, like those guys. Those guys have a level of talent, but like also it's a tremendous amount of production,
right?
Like enormous sets, expensive sets with audience waiting to clap to every joke.
Yeah.
You've been to some of those shows probably.
Absolutely.
And it's, they have a whole writing team. Now, the host does have to be somewhat good live,
Yeah.
So
They have
there's
to
a
be
level of talent.
gregarious and trigger you for sure.
But
I did a Letterman one once, and it is interesting. It's very interesting because they do breaks. They do breaks purposefully because there's a pacing that they want to maintain, and then they like kind of have hype men to come out and like get the crowd ramped up, and then
warm up crowd. Yep.
Yeah, and they do like 7 to 10 minutes and then break again, and sometimes even the host will walk around and joke around with you and just be loose for a little bit, and then they'll come back and record a little bit more. It's just it's really interesting. It's really, really interesting.
Yeah. I remember when we went out to LA, we got on the Price is Right in the audience, and we were just, it's like we were like 20 years old. We're just assholes. So we're in the audience like screaming. It'd be like a microwave oven. We'd be like, microwave oven. We'd be like, we're just like screaming at the top of our lungs. And it was just because it was the bizarreness of those things are so wild. People applauding for like household appliances and shit like that.
It's a Swiffer.
Yeah. Just making really odd.
You can get that at Walmart for like $20. What are you freaking out for?
And no, but I think but I remember during COVID, and some of those guys, I think it was like John Oliver and some of the Daily Show guys were not Jon Stewart, but they were doing at home stuff, and it was Colbert. No offense, but it was unwatchable. And so you just realize, like, God, there's so much in that production value, that kind of makes the whole thing work. And also to advantage of podcasters, editing was like a huge thing. Like when I'd podcast, I'd hand edit the stuff. But now with Riverside, you really can, have the software pull out a lot of the pauses and stuff like that. I have a problem with pausing. I do lots of ums and ahs, I've tried to get rid of that, but I just can't seem to really kick it.
Mine is more, like, or like. I just did. Like sometimes you get into this pattern where you just don't realize that that's what you're doing. The ums and ahs, I've somehow eradicated, but the other things are the challenge for me now. So I have to actively think about it, and I have to actively pause for a second and think to myself, it's fine if you take an extra like half a second to 2 seconds to say the next word, because there's clarity in meaning when you have good, solid, direct language for your audience, right? And,
yeah.
And I think it just takes practice. It
does take practice, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's almost like, when I've heard my stuff like Kali edited with the pauses taken out, I'm like, it sounds so much better. Like I'm like, wow, I can listen to this now, So, but no, so for all the...
You also don't want it to be robotic either. People are people,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, using basically a lot. Basically, that kind of stuff.
And I don't have any music updates per se because I'm still somewhat on a hiatus. I have literally taken off since, let's say, like November 20th, I think, was when I published that 1000th track. So all the holiday came through. And again, I focused more on the admin stuff and getting ideas and getting myself positioned and started with the new year. Of course, I'm going into January, which is tax season. So, of course, that's a major aspect of my days for the first 2 months of the year is dealing with that. And, the businesses that I consult, whatever, and I have to deal with that and get that out of the way before I can kind of clear the slate and clear the desk for all my creativity going forward for the year. So I think right now my emphasis is going to be on, I purchased some new toys and new tools at the end of the year in November and December in anticipation of hitting that milestone. Like that was my big gift to myself. What's your big gift? More work to do, right? More stuff to explore and more music to make. But no, in my experience and in the history of me doing this, a new software instrument is like a shot in the arm and a shot of adrenaline. It's okay. I'm going to come up with 30 to 50 new ideas just based on this purchase. And to me, that's like an investment in the future. It's an investment in the sound evolving into something else in all the different genres that I hit. And so now the next 5 to 6 weeks, I think I'm going to commit through February to just creating ideas, not finishing anything, just basically doing what I did towards the end of the summer last year, which was sit down, come up Monday, Friday at the bare minimum, try to hit 5 ideas both days, take them, carry them as far as you can. If it's just a lick and that's as far as it goes and I feel like I'm hitting a dead wall, fine. But if I take it 90% of the way and I have a really good idea, great. Take that as well. And then after that, the next 6 weeks, I'll go back in and do the same thing I did in August, September, which is look at the genre folders that I've put the stuff in and say to myself, okay, how many of these are finishable right now? Because there's ideas that have sat on my hard drive for 2 or 3 years, right? And they don't always come to fruition. And then one day I do this process where I go into the horror catalog or the horror folder and I'm like, I haven't touched this one in a year and a half. Let's see what it sounds like. Then suddenly I'm inspired. So just because you can't finish something right away doesn't mean that somewhere down the road, it doesn't pique your interest and doesn't spark inspiration for you to finish it and make it available to your audience, you know?
Yeah,
so
that can worry me. You know, there's this like desire to want to finish stuff, you know, but I've had that kind of, it almost feels forced upon me. I'm like, I can't work on this right now. It just ends
of course,
up being like,
you're talking specifically one piece, right? Like, if we go down a rabbit hole, you don't have the opportunity to deviate other than maybe what the message is going to be, right?
Right. Yeah, or work on a different part, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe something like that.
Yeah, for me, I don't think anything's precious when I'm in that such early era of the creative process because it's really just capturing whatever I'm hearing in my mind's eye, you know? So from that perspective, that's just what I want to do. I want to capture what I can get before I lose it and then move beyond it. Are we running towards the end?
Yeah, I think I might want to wrap up.
Yeah. Okay. No, I think we hit everything though. I mean, people know what's going on with the movie. They know where I'm at with the music. The music is kind of in a semi-limbo period right now because it is tax season. I am kind of in an ideation period. There's going to be some stuff that I haven't released that are still coming out, which is great. I have 4 or 5 albums still to come up to be available on the website. In fact, this week I'm going to release probably Tinctures. Now I'm committed to it. I have to do it, which I forget what was Tinctures again, real quick. Miscellaneous Electronica. So it's a mixed bag, man. Normally I have a genre-related compilation. This one was let's get as much out as we can. I don't know. Here it is. Mixed.
Cool.
So
that'll
be
some
coming
of that
out
stuff's
this week.
good. Like I like listening to some of that stuff though. It's like the more random the better. There's some tracks that you've done where I'm like, this sound is so weird, and I just I'll put it in a movie just because it's weird, just because I think the audience is going to be like, you know,
disoriented.
Wake up.
Yeah.
It's like these techniques you learn. God, you know, always be waking up the audience.
Yeah.
Someone's got to say something like surprising or messed up, you know, like, you know, have a weird audio cue, have a, you know what I mean? Just
surprisingly enough, laugh. I wrote it and carried it forward myself because it did the same thing for me. I'm like, that's novel. I've never come up with something like that before, and it's not like anything else I've ever done. I should probably let that go out.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll have more updates within a couple of weeks. At bare minimum, we'll know what happened for the rest of January with Video Dreams, and some more exciting news. There's going to be more podcasts this month for me. I'm actually interviewing our old high school music teacher, John Smeda.
Tell Mr. Smeda I said hi.
I will. Incredible human being. Just in advance, he had, I think he has like 6 degrees, something crazy like that. 2 of them doctorates.
Smart dude, yeah.
And incredibly intelligent, incredible musician. He actually played alto sax on one of my tracks that we recorded when I was in high school. Phenomenal alto sax player.
You got to get him to play on one of your tracks now.
I'll tell you what, we should do a collab. He's still playing live. I can't wait to ask him like what he's been up to and how Vic Stefans from North Haven is. He's a guy's studio that we recorded in high school. Guy was a Mitch. He just awesome,
Dude,
giving us the studio time.
You should do like a synthwave yacht rock song and have him blast some sax or something. That would be hot.
That would be neat. I'll ask him in the interview and be like, "Do you ever want to do collab? I do everything virtually. You know, like if you've got a Mac, we can do stuff. You can send me a project file from Logic. Like we can do this. Let's do it up. I'll co-pub with you. You know."
Yeah, it would be kind of an honor, right? It'd be cool to do something with an old mentor, you know?
Seriously.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of which, happy birthday to Lloyd Kaufman, who is 80 years young. Yeah, I was just thinking about, real quick, I know we got to go. Lloyd, you know, in regard to, like, whether you're talking about music or movies, always trying to re-grab the audience, always trying to grab their attention. Like, that's definitely like a Lloyd Kaufman thing. It's like if you watch his movies, he's always working to keep the audience hooked in. It's like some crazy gore shot, some messed up line someone says, some ridiculous sound effect. He's really trying to make it work and really trying to, you know, he's really like for the audience, which is really cool, you know. So.
That's awesome. Congratulations on him being an octogenarian now. That's fantastic. Well, awesome catching up with you, dude. Maybe we'll do a birthday episode because our birthdays are only 5 days apart.
That's right.
You know,
That's right.
So sometime over the course of the next week or so, maybe we'll do sometime in between. And you're not quite at that 5th decade yet, but you're just under the wire.
It's coming after me. Yeah. Still hanging on in my 40s.
That's to keep it, man. All right, guys, we'll catch you next time.